Hey guys, we're back, and this week we're talking about reinventing parenting. It's part of our series called Phases, where we're talking about what we can do as parents to better understand and better raise our kids. Scott and I are really... Scott?
Yes.
What are you doing?
I'm doing something amazing, Jeremy. I am reinventing parenting.
Let's talk about this. Guys, we're back and we're with Scott Vermillion today. We're talking about reinventing parenting. It's part of our series called Phases, and it's been really enlightening. I've really enjoyed it. Scott, help us to understand kind of what the basis for the discussion should be, and where should we start as parents when we think about parenting, and how we can reinvent what we're doing to bring more insight into it.
I think it's a great question. I think ultimately, a lot of times in my parenting, I start with the end in mind. Which isn't a bad thing, but I usually start parenting with the end, as if they've made it already.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You know, and I think the beginning is always the beginning, and we have to start where they start, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can't assume they've developmentally beyond where we are or beyond where we think they are. We have to think like building a rocket ship, right?
Okay.
You know, you don't start building it in space, even though that's where you want it to go. You build it on the ground. And if we can look at each of the phases and say, this is where they're at now, let's start.
Okay, so I love the idea of that. And so how do we get our minds wrapped around where they are? Because sometimes we look at them as you described, which is I'm almost projecting where I am or where I want them to be.
Right.
What can I do to really focus in on where they are?
Yeah, I think there's three keys, I think, to help us. And every day, I think we can do these things, we would be doing a great service to our kids. The first is be curious. You know, I think we can get to the point where we're not curious about our kids anymore, and we know what they're about, we know what their motives are, we know everything about them at this phase. But if we could just be curious and wonder, what are they thinking? What are they doing? Why are they doing these things? You know, what is it that they're trying to work out? I think that goes a long way of helping get at ground zero where they are in their stage.
Well, that's great. I think that's one of the things that you mentioned right up front was, we assume we know where they are, but we have to proactively look into it. And we will always find new things that they are struggling or what they're coping with or what they're really enjoying, and being able to lean into that. So that's great. But one of the things that you mentioned was, or I struggle with, is how do I not project what I want them to be into my vision of who they are?
Yeah. I think the second thing is that we have to assume they're different than us.
Okay.
You know, we've gone through the stages, right? We've gone through all these phases. We were in the third grade once, so of course we know what it's like.
I was in there twice.
You were in it twice, so you know exactly what's going on with those elementary kids. The reality, though, is we've got to assume they're not like us.
Okay.
And as soon as we begin to say they're their own unique individual person that God is cooking up, and we begin to add curiosity to that, it's really a wonderful mix.
Okay.
And the third thing that I would say that I think is important to do is when we're curious and seeing them different, they're going to try to amaze us and show us their skills and show us all these new things they're learning and doing. And we have to have a low wonder threshold.
Okay.
You know, we can't say, oh yeah, I've seen that before, kid. Yeah, great, you can tie your shoes today. Wonderful, you know.
Yeah.
You know, we have to celebrate, you know, and really just go over the top. Because I think that they don't get a sense of confidence in their world if we're like, we assume you should know that, kid.
We can't be passive about it.
No.
We got to be actively enthused and you know, and really set our expectations lows to where they are going with it, and so that they see the joy that we have and where they are.
Exactly.
Because I think often our kids get wrapped up in, my parents want me to be someone else or somewhere else, and really we're just projecting forward, and we need to be in the moment. So this is great. I love the 3 steps we could do here. So I'm excited to talk about this. We would love for you guys to talk about more in class or even in the comments below. So definitely tune in next time and come on in class and let's talk about these things.
Awesome.
Thanks.